Okay, and here we are on our series. This is the third of 4 videos on everything related to Khans of the Steppe, territory number 166 on the move, which, you guessed it, is largely about migration, how it works, why it works, and so on and so forth. Let's start right away because, again, these dev diaries are all very long. This one is about dominance first. We already had dominance in the previous dev diary. We talked about that quite a bit. Very interesting concept. I like the universalization of kind of proceeding through power in the steppes and making it actually matter for the future of the steppes. Let's take a look at this. As we have mentioned in previous development diaries, nomads have their own mechanics, and when it comes to how they rule, one of the most important one is their dominance level. Before I dive into the specifics of each level, it's important to note that nomads have a fixed minimum and maximum domain and vassal limit per dominance level. These numbers can be increased only through dominance and yurt buildings, and no skills or lifestyle perks affected. We have also changed the lifestyle trees to better work with nomadic mechanics, but more on that later. Dominance represents a nomadic's ruler perceived power. It can be increased by a prestige cost once the character reaches the necessary herd to unlock the next level. Rulers of Dominance 1 are typically counts. They migrate frequently and have a maximum of 1 vassal and a domain limit of 2. At this point, moving to the area with the best fertility or taking over herders' lands is very common. Some may even offer themselves as tributaries to bigger realms to ensure their safety during this critical time. Only the strongest are able to survive. Rulers of Dominance 2 are usually dukes. At this point, their fertility equilibrium is a bit higher, and they can stay in their lands for longer periods of time. They will simply likely need enough tributaries to continue growing their herd. This is also the moment when a ruler can, if they own a non-nomadic holding, decide to forsake the nomadic ways and become settled. This is one of the 3 ways to stop being a nomad. More on that later. Forsake nomadism. Life on horseback can be so exhausting. Have you seen what it's like in the towns? A soft bed within solid walls, no more saddle sores, no need to constantly be on the move. Your domicile buildings are exchanged for gold, your herd and nomadic horde are exchanged for gold and special soldiers. You adopt the feudal government, interesting. I guess it depends on what you conquer. So that means if you conquer anything that has a castle, I guess that you would normally turn feudal unless maybe your religion matches clan, right? The Borjigin nomadic camp is destroyed, every nomadic and herder vassal and all tributaries will become independent. You hold at least 1 county with a non-nomadic settlement or herder settlement. Rulers of Dominance 3 are typically kings. This is the level that the Khans of Cumania, for instance, have on game start. Vassal and domain limits have grown significantly, and now migration can target entire de jure kingdoms. If you target a kingdom or empire during your migration, however, you must choose which duchy within the title is the one you're aiming for. If you win, you will take over the duchy and all lands the previous king held within that de jure title. If your foe held additional outside titles, they would retreat there. See, I have a big question here, and we talked about this as well. I looked at the replies. I didn't see anything related to this. If you know, if there's something said on Facebook or MySpace or something, let me know, please. They said that your vassals come with you. They migrate with you if they are obedient. Do they just get the land that the king held? What if there isn't enough land? Do they get land of vassals that remain there because they didn't hold any land anywhere else and those vassals just get displaced? What actually happens there? Do they come with you? Because I sure hope that they do, so that you can have kind of this compact of your trusty vassals, that moves from here to there. Who knows? After successfully migrating thusly, you will get access to the Expand Dominance CB, which lets you de jure shift additional lands. I love this. It really reflects very, very well that de jure is not a concept that exists before, we started legalizing everything. The idea here is, without a doubt, that moving the de jure map very rapidly, frequently, and so on makes perfect sense, because what does it matter to me whether you think de jure this is Cumania or not? I rule here, so it's my realm. This is the Expand Dominance CB, a special war for nomadic rulers for either an area within their de jure lands or to expand their de jure area to new frontiers. All nomadic rulers of a duchy tier or higher can start the war within their de jure. On a victory, they will attempt to either vassalize the defender or force them to become a tributary, or conquer their lands altogether if they hold land outside of the target lands of the war. To expand their dominion to foreign lands, a nomadic ruler has to be of a kingdom tier or higher. On a victory, they will still attempt to vassalize, tributarize, or conquer the lands, but the lands will also immediately shift de jure to the primary title of the nomadic ruler. Great stuff. Big fan. Rulers of Dominance 4 are akin to Emperors. At this level, migration can target empires. However, rulers of this high dominance level don't tend to migrate at all. They get most of their herd through tributaries, and their fertility has reached a comfortable level where their herd can stay can steadily grow through holding their vast territory. It is at this point that a Paiza system can be established and access to the overrun Kingdom Casus Belli is granted. Paizas were the mark of trust of a great Khan. They were given to their loyal merchants and used to ensure safe travel through the Great Steppe. Granting Paizas is a great way to make characters obedient and allows for the summon wealthy visitors decision, where you can invest some gold to get special artifacts, even more gold, improvements for your nomadic horde, or random innovation progress. However, characters in possession of a Paiza can use the leverage the Khan's authority interaction to make a different character obedient to them, or abuse the Gur Khan's authority through a decision that extracts fertility from someone's land to increase their own prestige and gold. But the Khan may hear of these infractions and take matters into their own hands, gaining an imprisonment, execution, and banishment reasons on their previously favored character. The effects of Paiza investments can be increased through the yurt buildings of the capital. Let's take a gander at this. Established Paiza system. A system of special tablets shall be established to foster foreign trade and empower Khan's loyal subjects. He who carries a Paiza that bears the name of Khan Inanj Bilge will carry more authority and have safe passage through my lands. Those who dare disrespect my name will be put to death like dogs. This was, of course, an incredibly important system that was vital for the Silk Road in particular, of course, right? Actually covering that and making it a safe haven for merchants, which then in turn makes it much more attractive than it was before, and also makes it so that you kind of want a powerful presence on the steppes, whether it's China itself or whether it's, one of the Khans, doesn't really matter, because everything else is bad for trade. Unlocks the Grand Paiza character interaction, right? Unlocks the ask for Paiza character interaction for your vassals. Characters receiving Paiza artifacts become obedient. Unlocks the summon wealthy visitors Paiza decision, and characters bearing Paizas get access to both of the decisions that they talked about. You do need Ledger, apparently, and it's relatively, if you're this powerful, is this really expensive to you? I can't see it. This is the summon wealthy visitors. Right. The Great Steppe is far more magnificent than those fat, spoiled foreign cities, yet they possess goods, contraptions, and ideas that may prove useful to us. Perhaps one of their wealthy fools will venture this far. A wealthy foreigner will travel to your court leading a caravan bound for the well-developed settled cities. Upon their return, you may receive the following benefits. Around 40% of your gold investment, artifact creation materials that unlock the commission artifact decision, armaments for your nomadic horde and archer cavalry, and random innovation progress. More lucrative offers require a higher gold investment up to 2.4k. Various internal upgrades to the trading post yurt building offer additional benefits. That's pretty hefty. I really don't hope that trade, when it comes, hopefully next year, that it will be done through decisions. We need some dedicated stuff here. But this seems like the very first glimpse of what a trade might look like, where it's, you sending somebody out. The overrun Kingdom Casus Belli is the second path that nomads can follow to stop being nomadic. This CB can target any settled kingdom title, and if the war is won, will grant the target title to the attacker, who also converts to feudalism, clan, or tribal. You seize all titles within King Bela III's realm belonging de jure to the target title. One of these becomes your capital, a number convert to your culture and faith, and you become feudal. But coming back to dominance, dominance 5 is the highest level of them all and can only be obtained by the Gur Khan. That is, the ruler who possesses the largest herd of the entire Great Steppe. At this point, the Gur Khan can take the decision to become the greatest of Khans, should they be able to fill that decision's steep requirements. In a later development diary, we will explore this further. For now, we will let you know that the greatest of Khans is well set up to both conquer the world and switch their government type, without having to leave the Great Steppe. Change your dominance to unrestricted. Yes, so this is level 5 right here, right? You get additional domain, of course, massive vassal limit, making it so that you will never have to worry about it again, because this is where you start blobbing. Max migration distance 375. Wow, look at this, 75k hurt, by the way. A big migration distance right there. Gloryhound belligerent opinion goes up. May use the become the greatest of all Khans. The greatest of Khans may change government type with a reform the great Khaganate decision. And then you get all this stuff from previous things as well. We also have something called dominate title. Migration is not the only way to increase your tier. Nomads can also use the dominate title decision to create the de jure title of their very own territory. They just need to fight everyone in the desired area. Let's take a look at this. That sounds very interesting. It is time to prove my dominance over the area and subjugate those who live here. All will be trampled under our hooves as we take what is rightfully ours. Start a domination war against Khan Inanj Bilge, I assume the greatest, so the biggest enemy. Every non-tributary and non-allied de jure county holder of Kingdom of Ötüken will join Khan Inanj Bilge. Okay, so this is the total amount that they will have. And once you win, I guess you get the title. Okay, fair. Dominating a title replaces regular title creation for nomads. In the steppe, no amount of document fabrication will prove that a title belongs to you. Yeah, it's a very, very practical thing to do. You don't sit down, you don't justify it. You just bring your sword, and that's it. I like this. I think getting rid of title creation, I really hope that... See, in CK2, you didn't have really a big issue with like handing out titles and all that stuff, because they had this janky version where you just had these nomad clans underneath you, right? Since that isn't the case here, I really hope that fiddling with titles as a steppe nomad, where that doesn't really matter, won't be too big a thing. I really hope that, for example, stuff like, oh, how many duchies do you hold, that gives you a penalty. I hope that that doesn't matter, because why would it? But okay, we're going to see how it goes. I would just like to see something that naturally just happens, and then you look at it and you go, oh yeah, this is how my vassals are organized, and I have to deal with this, rather than handing out titles like it's the land to give, you know? But okay, with that being said, I like that. That is all nice. I like dominance a lot as a feature. I can really only reiterate this. Let's move to fertility equilibrium. Equilibrium is the prediction of how fertile a county will become over time. It is where the fertility growth and consumption meet, and it can be affected by terrain types, seasons, Kurultai tasks, and the holder's learning skill. Equilibrium is higher the bigger your domain is, representing your herd traveling through different counties to graze rather than being confined to just one county. This means that higher dominance rulers are able to live a more settled life within the steppe without having to abandon their nomadic ways. A county will always tend towards its equilibrium, which means that it will grow until it reaches it, or decrease the current value, or decrease if the current value is higher. That's kind of the point of an equilibrium. Right? It makes a lot of sense. We take a look at this right here. We see the steppe season. There's a Kurultai councillor doing something. I believe those are baronies, right? This is a county capital, these are baronies. Then we have held counties from domain, learning, we get a bunch of boosts. This is a cultural thing. And then you see right here, county capital, nomadic settlement, mountains. All of this impacts it, and that is then where we will be. And this equilibrium will determine how much herd we get. So the higher it is, obviously, the better. Settlement issues. Big fan of this. I think this is the one application that I absolutely love about contracts, together with the stuff that they did in the administrative stuff. I really like governor contracts. County control slows down the rate at which fertility grows by a percentage equal to the current control. So the fertility growth will only be optimal when control is at 100%. To address control, we have introduced settlement issues. County fertility, right, 16. And then the monthly change is impacted by minus 50% by county control. Got it. After migrating, either peacefully or not, nomads will be greeted with some contracts regarding the problems presented by moving to a new area. These contracts will usually help increase the county control, which allows for a better fertility extraction and a much calmer life. I like it. This is what this is for, right? These contracts have 3 possible tiers as usual and some extra rewards. Disagreeable herders. After settling down in Karatsagan, we have had several conflicts with a group of local herders, according to Mega2. Their provocations have gone on for too long. It is time to put an end to this unrest. If you succeed, the county control level goes up by 25. You gain 100 herd. Okay, not that much. County fertility just directly goes up. I like it, okay. This settlement issue requires you to respond to unease. Yeah, good stuff. Let's dive a bit deeper on the big topic. This is the one big thing that is being added here, the situation of the steppe, and that characterized by steppe seasons. Nomads live in the Great Steppe, divided in 3 regions, Western, Central, and Eastern. Each of these regions has its own active season, which may or may not differ from one another. Seasons affect the fertility of the region, but they also offer modifiers to how people and even animals behave, with additional effects on subjects, warfare, herd, and characters. There are 2 good seasons, 3 bad, 1 especially good, and 1 quite bad, all of which are also reflected on the map visuals. Let's go over them. So this is the interface right here, the Great Steppe. We see these 3 different steppe regions. We are in the Eastern Steppe. We have Everlasting Summer, which sounds amazing. We see a Stargazer right here, and they predict 83% chance of severe drought. So when this shift, the steppe season ends in 1188, when that comes around, we want to be gone. Maybe it's going to be abundant grazing, but chances are it's not. It's interesting because I don't think we can tell, right, what the others are going to be. So it is still a gamble, but if we know this is going to be bad, then, you know, just kind of dip. Abundant grazing offers 25% fertility growth to any county in the region. It's a calm time and rulers are generally happier, with increased vassal opinion and more herd given out using the demand herd character interaction. Men-at-arms are also 20% cheaper to maintain, as food supplies are well stocked and hunts are 50% cheaper to host. Everlasting summer represents the perfect climate for the land. It's a time of leisure and abundance that brings 75% fertility growth. Supply limit in the Great Steppe is also 50% larger, and vassal and tributaries have both an increased opinion and increased herd contribution based on their contracts. The severe drought is the first of the bad seasons. Fertility consumption is increased by 20%. However, this means that people are more willing to migrate, and every courtier will increase their opinion of you after a peaceful migration. Rulers are also more likely to accept a peaceful migration request during this time, and the conquer casus belli gives out prestige in the steppe, which they normally don't. Herd gain is slower, and so is their conversion into horde riders, as more resources are needed for the same result. Oh, I love the drought. Man, changing the map. CK3 is so bad at it so far. But this looks so nice. Yeah. Big fan. Big fan. During zoot seasons, the weather is especially adverse, which pushes characters to seek protection from stronger and more resourceful nomads. During these seasons, the demand obedience and demand as tributary character interactions have a higher acceptance chance. This is very much like struggles. Like you click it or you hover over it to see what the effect is. Effects on subjects. Effects on nomadic rulers in the region. The demand obedience character interaction has a higher acceptance chance. The demand as tributary character interaction has a higher chance as well, of course, right? They are kind of in a bad situations. Characters are also slightly more likely to gain the ill trait. Makes sense. A cold zoot brings strong winds and blizzards. The extremely low temperatures force the livestock to use most of their energy to keep warm. A white zoot occurs when the snow settles over the grazing lands, making it impossible for the livestock to reach the grass. This is reflected by a 40% increase in the fertility consumption. The retaliation casus belli, given when someone moves into your tributary's lands but refuses to pay you tribute, is free, and upgrading your horde riders into better men-at-arms 25% cheaper. However, the supply limit is 20% smaller. A Havasaran zoot is the combination of 2 or more types of natural disasters. It's a time of great adversity, with grazing land impossible to find, and hardships in every possible direction. The county fertility is completely gone, but that doesn't mean that you're out of options. Demanding tributary still has a higher acceptance chance, and the desperate times decision becomes available. In it, you can pay some prestige and make all of your people obedient. All of them, that's crazy. As well as unlocking the invasion casus belli to try to get you out of the steppe, no matter your situation. The retaliation and humiliation casus belli, used against a nomadic ruler of higher domination than you, are free, and characters have a 30% increased stress gain. This humiliation CB is something you use to knock them down a dominance level and to make people that are subscribing to their ideology, by which I mean that are vassals or tributaries, disobedient. The Great Steppe right here, what do we have here? We have the counter fertility, wow, this is terrible. And then we got desperate times. Man, I do not love the zoom. The land is barren. Calves die in their mother's wombs, unseen by the sun. Horses, as thin as twigs, collapse with sickening cracks. There's only one way, and it is out. Every nomadic vassal becomes obedient to you. Every courtier becomes obedient, and you will be able to use the invasion casus belli. It forces them to be obedient, I believe, because when they are obedient, they migrate with you. Otherwise, they would stay behind, which makes this kind of pointless to use, right? Makes sense. Listen. Oh, am I seeing full snow cover? Oh, I am. Man, the entire steppe is screwed. That sucks to be you. The other special season is the Blessing of the Blue Sky, which is much nicer to everyone involved. During a blessing, fertility grows with a 300% increase. The supply limit within the Great Steppe is also 100% higher. Tributaries and vassals have a better opinion of their overlords, and characters have 25% less stress gain. It's a gorgeous map. Man, this has to be the first time. I love all of the buildings that we get on the map. Okay, I really do. I think they do great jobs with the modeling there. It looks amazing. The map is now actually getting some love. I love it. I cannot wait to have roads and all this stuff and to see it working there. I can't play without them. Huge fan of this. This looks cool. We have nudged these seasons so they're more likely to happen after the Mongol invasion of China and the Mongol invasion of Europe, as climate change was one of the factors that drove them out of the steppe. They can only happen once in the entire game, and their chances also grow each 100 years after each game start date. Oh, I like this. Oh, that's cool. The fact that this is essentially structured like the Black Death and the Mongol invasion, and that it can coincide with it, I like that a lot. Okay. It matters not if the 10 years of the previous season haven't concluded. These seasons will take over whenever they reach their turnover point and propagate to all regions. If you are blessed, you can grow an enormous herd that will help you take over the world. If you encounter the Hafsaz and Zood, you will soon discover that the only possible way is out. I hope that the AI actually does that. Like, that we see this big storm coming westwards or southwards, just because it's cool gameplay-wise. It would be so awesome. Rulers will also try to migrate to other regions if the local season is much better than theirs, and they have the necessary resources. Cool. I need to see this in action, but cool. Stargazer. The Stargazer is one of the many tools that nomadic rulers have when it comes to predicting upcoming seasons. This court position also acts as a substitute to the court chaplain, as they've been replaced by the Kurultai and can help guess what the next season is based on their aptitude. Right, we talked about this already in one of the previous videos. Go check that out. We're going to see, obviously, what is written here, but fundamentally, this is such a cool kind of engagement of the mysticism, but also just knowing the land and knowing indications of it's going to be bad or good. Great stuff, really cool. However, if the Stargazer's aptitude is poor, there is a chance that they will predict 2 entirely wrong seasons, or 1 wrong and 1 right. Their reasoning is unpredictable. They come with 2 court position tasks, Oversee Preparations and Guide Shepherds. Oversee Preparations is a bit of a special one, and its effects change based on seasons, as they're trying to ensure the best possible outcome. Therefore, they may help manage fertility during a cold suit or increase piety gain during a blessing. Right, so this varies depending on what you have in your particular sub-region. The Guide Shepherd's task helps herder subjects gain the season pastoralist trait, which increases the rate at which they replenish fertility of their held counties. I talked about this before. I really feel like if you have a domain limit of 5, you're going to have 5 shepherds somewhere directly around you, maybe as tributaries, maybe not, depending on whether you can pull that off, and then you displace them, give your 5 away, not to new vessels, but to other shepherds, and you do the same gain again, and then you have this immediately, you know, this lifestyle trait. It's just, since you are kind of destined to force them out, it's kind of weird that you would even be interested in giving them this, because how long are you going to have them be in that position, you know, that this actually matters. Let's talk about something else cool, Kurultai Succession. Just for the record, everything in this dev diary is so far really, really awesome. I think the implementation again here is much more systemic. It is very much in the vein of Struggles, except refined, because this is now a force of nature type of thing, and at the same time we're looking at something where you still have a decent set of options when it comes to responding, be that migrating out, be that being incredibly harsh, playing into whatever the season is, right? So making people obedient, disobedient, that kind of stuff. Really cool stuff. I like this much more systemic approach, and I hope that we're gonna, again, like I said, I cannot believe that I'm saying this. I do not care. Fundamentally, I'm not that interested in East Asia, but man, I want to see what they come up with, because this is nice stuff. Kurultai Succession. All nomads have a unique and new succession law, the Kurultai Succession. During a Kurultai Succession, your 2 oldest children of eligible gender and the 4 members of your Kurultai will either approve or disapprove of your choice of heir. Their approval depends on whether they are obedient or not, so ensuring an obedient Kurultai should be among your highest priorities if you are aiming for a smooth succession. During a stable succession, all of your titles go to your preferred heir, with no partition or harsh consequences. Cool. All of the Kurultai members are obedient, which will lead to a safe succession for their heir after the current ruler dies. If 1 or more members of your Kurultai are not obedient, you will be facing a chaotic succession instead. The consequences are unpredictable, but they go from losing some legitimacy or prestige to one of your vassals stealing part of your herd to even facing a realm fractioning disaster, like the splitting of the Great Mongol Empire. Yes, it's gonna be organic. It's gonna be included in these systems. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, that's so cool. Let's take a look at this, right? A random consequence will happen. We have 4 disobedient, and 1 approves. Okay. The consequences are not completely arbitrary, though, and they scale with your title tier, realm size, and the number of your disobedient Kurultai members. If you're a duke with only 1 disobedient member, you will not be punished as severely as a hated empire. Thank God. Okay. Sadly, we're only a duke here, but disobedient. Minor troubles, herd losses, defecting courtiers, lost levels of fame, or tributaries breaking free. More narrative than anything else, I think, except for the last one. Disobedient, 2+. Significant disorder, large herd losses, land loss, lost gold, or major legitimacy hits. Okay, bit more impactful, land loss in particular. Half or more disobedient, greater turmoil. Enormous herd loss, the realm splitting in half, or even the realm dissolving completely. I would assume splitting in half if you're just like a duke or a king, and then dissolving completely if you're an emperor. If you are the greatest of Khans and you weren't able to close it out. Cool stuff. Really, really cool. Joining the greatest of Khans now makes a lot of sense, because you can completely devastate them just by disapproving in the Kurultai. Ooh, cool implementation. Really cool. If the Hafsaz and Zood, the realm stability is shaken and the succession will always be chaotic. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, my brother Apak was slain in a duel. The dawn of my rule breaks. The disunited voices of the Kurultai echo over the endless steppe. They are all laughing at me, calling me friendless. They say that I am weak, unsuitable to be the Khanum. My aromatic Kurultai member Kutan is laughing louder than all the rest. How dare they insult my minus 500 legitimacy? Wow, I like it. This means, man, I would really love it if this was integrated in other stuff. Having more interesting consequences when your realm, is handed over to your heir would be super cool. I mean, sorry, but if you had the Black Death, that has huge impulses on how people feel about your rule, about your legitimacy, and then, of course, with that, you might be seeing a couple of these consequences as well. Having a general, hey, your realm was pacified, yes or not when you died, right? And having that impacted with some random events, I would welcome it so dearly. I like this mechanic a lot. Chaotic succession, splinter, realm. My father Saru was slain in a duel. The dawn of my rule breaks. The disunited voices of the Kurultai echo over the endless steppe. The verdict is clear. The lion's share of our lands is mine. The rest falls to my obnoxious brother Sevench. May he rot in Atpazar. I believe this is... That is pretty cool. Okay. Nomadic lifestyle trees, I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to skip over most of this. They obviously just, instead of doing stuff that is good for feudalism, they do stuff for nomads. Totally reasonable. I don't think there's too much to say about this. Nothing bad. Let's talk about nomadic legitimacy. Nomads have a new legitimacy type which differs in some ways from the settled one. The first big difference is that while settled legitimacy is much nicer to lower tiers, which means you get bonuses even on the first levels, nomadic legitimacy is the same for all tiers, representing the harsher judgments of the steppe. Aspiring ruler, yep, level 1, short reign duration, popular opinion, reduced everything, classic stuff. However, we have made the way, I really gotta say by the way, I like the interface. I like this interface a lot. We have made the way of obtaining and losing it be also in accordance with the nomadic way of life. Nomadic rulers gain double legitimacy from winning wars, but they also lose double on defeat. They will also gain legitimacy from duels and marrying noble-born courtiers of someone of equal or higher dominance. Nomadic legitimacy also affects tributary and confederation acceptance, as well as herd gain and tributary opinion. The effects on casus belli costs and creating new titles have been removed, as nomads get CB discounts from seasons and they do not create higher titles the usual way, but through the dominate title decision. Makes sense. Once you're up here, classic stuff, the herd gain. Oh, the herd gain is massive. Wow. This is like the single best thing that I've seen here. Let's move on to nomadic factions. Peasant and populist factions do not make much sense within the steppe. Instead, there will be nomadic factions. These factions can happen for any type of ruler, settled or nomad, but are more likely for settled rulers. They are very powerful, comparable to populist armies composed of nomadic riders, horse archers, and other nomadic men-at-arms. Similarly to peasant factions, their discontent will always rise, and it'll rise fast. The goal is to make it unattractive for settled rulers to hold nomad lands, as they will be attacked by revolting nomads on a semi-regular interval. Feudalizing the holdings will be crucial to stop this. Of course, defeating them will pacify their lands for a while. If a nomadic faction is successful, they will rip any duchy that had a county part of the faction out from your realm, and each of them will get a new nomadic ruler generated. Okay, classic stuff. Basically just exists to say, Byzantines, you cannot come in here. Stop coming in here. Fair enough. Belligerent vassal stance. We decided that most vassal stances made little sense to nomadic people, so we have added a new one called belligerent, more commonly found within the steppe. Belligerent vassals want to see their liege as a powerful and strong leader, and enjoys show of both physical and military might. Belligerent vassals seek examples of authority from their liege. They often partake in tournaments to witness the liege's prowess feats firsthand. Nomads have a higher chance of adopting this vassal stance, so it's accessible to everybody, including and prioritizing nomads. Belligerent vassals like when the liege has high dominance, organizes grand tournaments, organizes hunt activities, wins duels, demands obedience. They hate losing duels, low obedience, and having any partition succession law. Reasonable. Very, very reasonable. I like this. Nothing too big there. This Death Diary, quite frankly, I think all around is very, very strong. We have the great steppe stuff, and I really, really want to stress this. I am so looking forward to that actually working its magic come All Under Heaven. I hope that we're eventually gonna see something like this, maybe even for the Crusades. The Silk Road could be depicted with this situation, with this, new reworked struggle system. The Kurultai succession is so cool. My god. We've been waiting for a while for reworking succession in normal playthrough, play experiences like, of course, feudal and clan being the primary ones there, of course. I hope that we're going to get something much cooler than what we have right here. pledging yourself to, you know, acclaim and that kind of stuff as we come to a succession and then a war emerging from there. Maybe looking at a situation where you can have confederations, because that is ultimately what it was, the Confederation of the Carlings, where technically speaking, in 867, they're all under Louis II of Italy. He is the emperor. He is the nominal empire. I want to see so much more with Succession, and what they're doing here, they are cooking, they're doing great stuff. I really, really am looking forward to this. What a systemic approach we finally have here. I really, really like this. You let me know in the comments what you think about it, and tomorrow I'll be seeing you with the last of this 4-video series, which is all about the greatest of Khans. For the time being, I will see you later, alligator.